If you want to understand every single word that your co-driver says to you when you're playing EA Sports WRC, and also learn how to use that information, you've come to the right place. In nearly every form of motorsport, assuming the car is prepared well, responsibility lies with the driver when it comes to successful results, and making it home in one piece. Now I use the word nearly because in rallying, it's just as much about the co-driver. Sometimes referred to as the navigator, the co-driver is responsible for providing information about the road ahead through the use of pace notes. These pace notes are written by the crew during a pre-event recce and are read out by the co-driver during the stage so that the driver knows what corners and features are coming up next. The thing is though, unlike a circuit which contains anywhere from maybe 3 or 4 corners to 20 or 30, a rally contains thousands. It's nigh on impossible for the driver to memorise these completely, so in order to drive on the limit between trees, rocks and snowbanks, guidance from the co-driver through the use of pace notes is paramount to both speed and safety. When talking about racing games, safety is of course less of an issue, but that doesn't mean you want to be headbutting a fence post every 3 corners. This is why when playing a rally game, it's incredibly important to listen to and understand what your co-driver is saying. Back in 2021, we produced a video explaining what all of these pace notes mean across a variety of games, and it proved fairly popular. So with EA Sports WRC set to receive updates and DLC releases for years to come rather than annual sequels, we thought we would make an all-new guide tailored specifically for this game. We aim to leave no stone unturned, no hat unbobbled, and by the end of this video, you should understand everything there is to know about pace notes in EA Sports WRC. Oh, and if you want to see how co-drivers go about writing their notes, where my traumatized colleague Ozley and I wrote our very own pace notes before taking to the stages. Before you actually start driving, it's important to check your settings and basically make the most of what's available to you. This guide focuses on English pace notes as that's my first language, but there are 5 languages to choose from: English, Italian, Spanish, German, and French. For English, there are 2 voices to choose from, one English male and one Scottish female. Select whichever you prefer as the instructions appear to be identical.
30, 4 right, into 4 left, and 6 right, 30.
Small crest, 50, caution, 4 right, long tightens, into bridge, 40, 3 left, keep in.
Don't be scared of the Scottish one either. She's speaking a language that I like to call TV Scottish, which basically means that you can understand her just as well as I can. It's also worth noting that within the game preferences section of the options menu, you can choose to simplify the pace notes. Now, although this guide will help you understand the full range of instructions using the normal setting, if you're brand new to rallying, give the simplified version a go because it might be a little bit easier to get up and running, and then obviously you can change to normal settings further down the line. Next, set your co-driver call timing. I would always recommend going as early as you're comfortable with, because the earlier you hear the pace note, the more time you have to prepare for it. Everything is delivered in the order that it happens in, so don't get confused if you hear turn right as you're heading into a left-hander. The right turn will probably be coming up shortly. One final tip here as well, it's probably worth heading to your volume settings and turning down everything except your co-driver volume. Because as much as the cars sound amazing in EA Sports WRC, the car's not going to sound as good when it's engulfed in that hedge that you're about to head into. So, we load into the stage, and the first thing you hear is a quick preview of the first section.
Starts 2 right, 60.
Followed by a
good luck.
Then the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And now the fun bit starts, the bit you have all been waiting for. So let's take things section by section. The most common pace note you will hear is a number between 1 and 6, followed by a direction, left or right.
4 left.
The number refers to the angle or the tightness of a corner, so 1 is a very slow, tight corner, whereas 6 is a high-speed, open corner, and obviously all of the numbers in between fall in numerical order. So a 3 left is a medium-speed left-hander, whilst a 5 right is a high-speed right-hander, for example. Not every corner has a number attached, however. Some have a more literal description. In this game, you may hear slight left, square left, or hairpin left. A hairpin is a very tight corner, normally 180 degrees, and it may require the handbrake to slide the car around them quickly. If you hear acute hairpin, this just means a super tight hairpin that will definitely require the handbrake. Slight is the opposite. It means a subtle kink in the road, barely even a corner. And then we have square, which is referring to the angle of the corner. Square means 90 degrees, so think of it like the corner of a square. Often, these corners are low to medium speed. If you hear the word chicane, this refers to a sequence of corners from left to right, or vice versa, requiring a quick direction change. Sometimes these chicanes are man-made, requiring you to quickly navigate around some bales, for example. In these scenarios, your co-driver may say, right entry chicane, which means you should approach from the right-hand side, and your first turn will be a left, around the first bale. Now, although all of these numbers and descriptors can help you understand the tightness of a corner, it's worth remembering that you're going to approach these corners at different speeds depending on what came before it, and that'll have an impact as well. So for example, you might think a 2 right requires a lot of braking, whilst a 6 right is flat out. But in reality, if the 2 right came immediately after a hairpin, you might not have to brake for it, whereas if a 6 right came after an incredibly long straight, you still might actually have to slow down for it. Now, something you will probably have heard many times, but you may not have noticed. Why does it sometimes say 3 left, and sometimes say turn 3 left? The word turn is to show you that the road ahead splits, and there is a possible alternative road that, if you aren't paying attention, you might accidentally drive towards. These are always marked with some directional arrows on each side of the stage as you approach the corner in question, so use these to help you if you've forgotten which way to go. Of course, corners aren't the only things that make up a rally stage. Straights are commonplace too, and if you hear a number higher than 6 that's a multiple of 10, something like a 40 or a 200 for example, this is referring to the length of an upcoming straight in meters, or maybe feet. I'm not quite sure which, but both are similar enough. Stages are often littered with crests, bumps, dips, and jumps as well. Jumps are rises on the road when a car is almost certainly going to get some airtime. Crests and dips are similar, but less extreme, essentially small rises and drops in the road that may make your car go airborne if you are pushing the limits. Bumps are lots of smaller surface changes that may unbalance and unsettle your car to the point where you can lose control. All of these should be taken with a little bit of caution. Speaking of caution, sometimes your co-driver will literally use the word caution, or in extreme scenarios, double caution. This just means you need to be careful because this section is particularly dangerous. Just take it a little bit slower than you normally would until you know what the danger is. Further instructions such as slowing or brake are once again well worth listening to. There's probably a very tight corner coming up just after a fast corner, so you need to be slowing down more than normal for the fast corner. You might hear the word twisty as well. That just means that the section coming up twists from side to side, so will require precise driving. Another type of pace note worth paying attention to are surface changes. If you're on tarmac and you hear
Hairpin right onto gravel.
prepare for less grip all of a sudden. If it's the other way around and you hear onto tarmac, remember that your gravel tyres might not give you as much grip on the tarmac as you expect. Other surface changes include things like cobbles in Mexico, which are fairly slippery stones. And then there's the special case of Monte Carlo, particularly when it's set to winter conditions. You'll find certain stages over the col switch between dry tarmac, icy patches, and then full ice. Your co-driver will inform you of this with the calls dry now, patchy now, and ice now. Dry means you can attack fully, ice means you absolutely shouldn't, and patchy just means that there will be small sections of ice amongst the dry tarmac, so you'll have to be cautious and prepare for a sudden lack of grip. If you've picked up on any other surface change calls, please do let us know what they are in the comments below. In fact, if you're finding this guide informative and useful, why not leave us a like and subscribe to the Traxion channel for more videos like this in the future. These small actions really help us continue to grow and develop, so any little bit of support you give is hugely appreciated. You've probably realised by this point that pace notes are all about giving you extra bits of detail and information to make your driving decisions as clear as possible. Now, there are extra bits of information that the game's going to give you, very specific bits of detail that are going to make that process even better, make you faster, and also safer. So let's take a look at some of those now. You may hear the words and into between corners and jumps. This is about the flow of the stage. 3 left into 4 right is telling you that the left-hander leads straight into the right-hander, with no gap or straight in between. The word and is similar, but not quite as extreme. 4 left and 5 right means that the right is not long after the left, so it might be worth positioning your car to prepare for it. All of this just helps you understand what it is that's coming up next, so you can actually tailor your line specifically for that section. Crucial ones now: cut, don't cut, small cut, and keep in. These are all self-explanatory. If the co-driver says cut, it's because it's safe to cut the corner on the inside at the apex, and this may result in time gains. Same goes for small cut, but just be a little bit more careful. Don't cut is the opposite. Avoid cutting to avoid the danger, whilst keep in means that the danger is probably towards the outside of the corner, and it's important that you keep to the inside of the road instead. Now I'm going to get really fastidious. How long is the corner? You may hear very long, long, half long, or short. These terms describe, in that order, how long the corner will last. Patience is required on the throttle if your corner is going to go on forever. The word sharp is essentially just an extra warning that a particular corner might be tighter or more acute than it looks, or than you expect. Of course, not all corners stay the same throughout their entire length. Some may tighten, whereas others may open up. 4 left opens means the corner starts as a 4 left, but then opens out to become maybe a 5 or a 6 by the exit. And of course, tightens means the opposite. The pace note may have specific amounts of opening and tightening too. For example, 5 right tightens to 2. A co-driver might also say narrows or widens, referring to the width of the road. Push a bit harder on the exit if it widens. Be careful to stay somewhere near the middle if it narrows. You can even get a combination of multiple things, like 4 left narrows, opens and tightens. So make sure you're paying close attention. You might hear the words early or late, and this is telling you when you should turn into a corner on your entry. Maybe a later apex will keep you away from a particularly nasty bump, or a wall that's sticking out. If you hear the word sudden, the corner may be coming sooner than it initially looks, so make a mental note and prepare for it slightly earlier than normal if you don't want to be caught out. In a similar vein, the word unseen means the corner won't be visible to the driver straight away. Maybe it's immediately after a crest, or a feature is blocking your vision. Again, just give yourself more space to prepare if you want to avoid a nasty surprise. Now, I've been using corners for all of these detailing examples, but of course these things can also apply to jumps and crests. And in fact, in some occasions it's actually more important for jumps and crests, because when you get airborne, you obviously cannot control the movement of your car, you can't steer in midair, so it's really important to know what's coming before you take to the air so that you can prepare your car and line it up properly. Left over crest, for example, means you need to be aiming your car to the left as you approach the crest. The likelihood is that the road will be turning that direction and you wouldn't have seen it before you got there. You may hear descriptors like small crest, or long crest, small jump, or big jump. If you hear something like 4 right long over crest, this means that the crest will be during the corner, so again, positioning your car to prepare for that is paramount. And watch out for bad bumps and bad dips on those tricky Kenyan stages too. Now, answer me this. What other forms of motorsport have you deliberately driving through gates and water splashes? The co-driver will also warn you of upcoming features and unique elements, either as visual references so you know whereabouts something's happening, square left at house, or 150 past junction for example, or to warn you of some danger. A bridge is solid and might be narrow, so knowing you're about to cross one is important information. If a water splash is imminent, make sure you're travelling in a straight line on approach, and maybe turn your wipers on. And finally, after all is said and done, the greatest message to hear for any driver struggling along with a puncture: over finish. You've made it. Just make sure you listen to the instructions over the line until you hear the phrase to stop, so that you speak to the virtual marshals rather than crashing into them. Your co-driver will give you your stage time, and assuming you've been listening to them the whole time, it's probably going to be a good one. And that's it, pretty much every pace note you are going to hear on EA Sports WRC. Now, of course, this game will be updated, new locations will be added, and that means that new pace notes are also going to be added at points too, so we won't have absolutely everything. And in fact, if you do stumble across a new pace note that we didn't mention in this video, please do let us know what that is down in the comments below. And if you have any questions about the stuff we've covered in this video, even if it's the simplified pace notes or regularity rally for example, please don't be afraid to ask for guidance. This video will help you with other rally games too, as although there are subtle changes, you can generally carry your knowledge across. Think of it as one big pace note language with multiple dialects. Real-world rally drivers and co-drivers also have their own unique systems. Some like as many details as possible, whilst others prefer clean and concise information to keep things simple. And now that you know how it all works, why not try it for yourself? Grab a notepad, a pen, and a friend or partner or family member. Run through the stage slowly and try to make your own notes. You have to think about all sorts of stuff beyond just the notes themselves. Stuff like the timing of page turns and using symbols to help you read the notes correctly and keep the flow going without getting confused or lost. I'll be honest, it is harder than it seems. As I mentioned earlier, do leave us a like if you found this video helpful, and of course subscribe to the Traxion channel for more racing game guides in future, whether it's for EA Sports WRC or any other racing game. Also, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of these uploads when they come out. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.